Hi, I'm xiao.liu from the University of Edinburgh. I'll present a paper Disentangled representation for domain-generalized cardiac segmentation. I will first introduce the concepts of domain adaptation and generalization. And this paper summarized our work on participation of M&Ms challenge. To motivate our methods, I'll also demonstrate the challenges on handling the given dataset. For cardiac image segmentation, typically MRI scanners are used to acquire the cardiac MRI data. Then using deep models, the segmentation masks can be predicted. For this task, there is a practical challenge. When testing the deep models on unseen datasets, the performance is usually non-satisfactory. In other words, the models have poor generalization ability. This problem in computer vision is defined as domain adaptation and generalization. For domain adaptation, the labeled source domain and unlabeled target domain are given. The domain shift between source and target domain is the main reason limiting the robustness of model. In fact, the domain shift is mainly caused by each dataset bias, and domain adaptation aims to build a robust model on the source and the target domains. To achieve this, the distributions of the domains are usually transformed to be domain invariant to enable the training of a robust model. For domain generalization, multiple labeled source domains are given. The target is to learn a model to generalize well to unseen target domain, where the data and the labels are not known. In the M&Ms challenge, the training dataset contains 150 labeled data from vendor A and vendor B, 25 unlabeled data from vendor C, and no data from vendor D are given. In the test dataset, 200 subjects from all the 4 vendors are considered. As a result, for vendor C, it's a domain adaptation problem. And for vendor D, it's a domain generalization problem. To learn models with better generalization ability, we explore the biases of the given datasets. We observed the distributions of the resolutions for vendor A, B, and C are very different. It's a kind of dataset bias that causes domain shifts. For example, the resolution of the data from vendor A is much smaller than that of vendor B. In the training of deep models, this significant variation of hard size will heavily affect the final performance. We then compare the intensity distributions of the 3 vendors, and we observe the dataset bias here as well. And for example, the left ventricle of the data of vendor A is much darker than that of vendor B. And this part of background tissues has a similar intensity with the data of vendor B. This will also affect the model performance. Methodology, we propose to use resolution augmentation to address the resolution bias, and then we introduce content style or anatomy-modality disentanglement. We further propose factor-based augmentation. To address the resolution bias, we first propose to use resolution augmentation. Specifically, we randomly sample all the data such that all the resolutions are equally distributed in the range. As shown in the examples, for each patient, the variation of heart size will be eventually similar by using resolution augmentation. In terms of the intensity bias, we first introduced the concept of content style or anatomy-modality disentanglement. For same patient, different scanners can acquire data with same content or anatomy, but with different image appearance. And for different patients, a same scanner will acquire data with different anatomy, but with same appearance. Emotive is the decomposition of medical image. The image can be decomposed into a spatial content or anatomy representation, appearance, style, or modality representation. In fact, this anatomy representation captures domain-invariant semantics, and the modality captures the information about the intensity bias caused by different styles. If you want to learn more about content style disentanglement, please check the MICCAI 2020 Dream tutorial. To learn the decomposed representations, we exploit SDNet. It has an anatomy encoder encoding the image to an anatomy factor. Using the modality encoder, it encodes the image to a 1D modality factor. The anatomy factor is used to predict the segmentation masks with the segmenter. In addition, there is a decoder that combines the two factors to reconstruct the image. In SDNet, the anatomy factor is designed to mainly contain domain-invariant semantics, and the modality factor mainly contains intensity bias information. We propose factor-based augmentation to address the intensity bias by extracting and mixing the anatomy and modality factors from all the data. First, we pre-train an SDNet with all the data to extract the factors. Then we mix the factors to generate new images by sampling a modality and the anatomy factor from the three sets. We conducted experiments to showcase the effectiveness of RA and FA. For our experiment citing, we conducted ablation study for RA. We trained a unit with RA and a fully supervised SDNet, as well as a fully supervised SDNet with resolution augmentation. And for the ablation study of FA, we trained a semi-supervised SDNet with RA and a semi-supervised SDNet with RA as well as factor-based augmentation. Factor-based augmentation also uses data from vendor C. So factor-based augmentation by default is semi-supervised. So does resolution augmentation help? Well, our results on UNITE plus RA shows the model performance is promised, at least on same domain with resolution augmentation. By comparing SDNet with and without resolution augmentation, we found that resolution augmentation improves model performance, and in particular, it significantly boosts domain generalization. As fully supervised SDNet with resolution augmentation achieves the best performance across all the models on vendor D. So does factor-based augmentation help? Our results show that although factor-based augmentation does not help performance on domain generalization, as it doesn't have good performance on vendor D, but it significantly improves domain adaptation. This model with factor-based augmentation is the best one on vendor C. In conclusion, we demonstrated the resolution and the intensity biases that affect the generalization ability of models. We use resolution augmentation and further propose factor-based augmentation to address the biases. Our results showcase that resolution augmentation boosts domain generalization and factor-based augmentation boosts domain adaptation. Thanks for watching.